Oh boy, hello. I already made this video, already uploaded it, however I wasn't really happy with it, so here we go again. It's, boy oh boy, are we in for a long one? Or you just click off and you're not long in for a long one, but I am. Yeah, let's get started. First of all, I have a small feedback on the league. I didn't play PoE in a while, at least PoE 1 did this. And so it was a real treat to have this league. It was lots of fun, very cool. What I liked the most were the scarab changes, because we had so many cool currency atlas farming strategies that generated good currency. So this time it's about if the game is fun, right? So you do what is fun to you. But this time it really felt like you have so many approaches of doing so many different things and still achieve so much gain of currency passively while just playing the game. So you didn't have to focus on something that maybe isn't fun for you but generates a lot of currency, right? So that was really cool. Also the Mirage mechanic with the overall Mirage area that enhances other league mechanics, super cool. And the imbue also super cool, very happy. What I maybe have to criticize as well, those were quite useless, but that doesn't really matter. Everything else was super cool. Maybe it's not even useless for, I don't know, solo self-found or something like that, but I didn't find much use of those and they dropped a bit frequent, but yeah, that is that. And also the wishes on itself in the Mirage, right? I feel like they could be more exciting. Because at first I was like, wow, 100% more currency, that is super cool. And I was very happy. But then I realized at some point, for example, there are maps with 161% more currency, just usually, not even 8 more, just rolled like this, right? You can do that. And if you then open your map with all the increased effect of explicit modifiers on your maps, is the music too loud? Okay, we keep it here. Just generic, no copyright, YouTube Lo-fi, but it's something. Yeah, where was I? Right, with our Atlas skills, we then achieve way more than 200% more currency. And if we then open the Mirage, it's just an addition to that, right? It's not like another multiplier, it's just, yeah, now you have another 100% on your map. So yeah, sure, it does help and it is quite cool still, but overall, Mirage, if you look at the grand picture, it's kind of like, yeah, all your maps are just 1/3 as low, have 30% extra length and or extra size as they had before, and some extra loot, right? So overall, this was kind of like because you don't do just 2 maps a day, right? You do like 20, 30, 40 on days where you play a lot. Maybe for some people it's way over 100, and then in grand total it's just more maps, which just extra part of the map, right? Which sure drops some extra content and has some variations with strategies, but it's like not really that exciting after a while, I feel like. And if you compare it to Necropolis, which was terrible in the league, but we had this mechanic where we could alter the monster packs on the map. So I believe there was a mechanic where we could make mobs into big frogs that had more quantity and rarity or something like that. So I don't know, if Mirage would be a little bit more like that, so it would greatly affect what the monsters are, or how they are. It could be way more exciting, no? For example, we have this strongbox scarab that puts all the mobs into strongboxes. What if Mirage could have similar mechanics to that drastically alter the map? I think that would be really cool, but it's only my opinion. Overall, League was still a great success. I hope it gets implemented. The Mirage, can I talk? The Mirage part as well into the core League. Very nice, but I think the wishes could just be a little bit more exciting. I mean, we do have frogs, but what do they even do? Honestly, what are they? What? How? But yeah, that's that. That aside, before I'm going deeply into the build, I'm just going to showcase you a map. Where are my originator maps? Here. I just take any map really. Pack size is quite low, might be a bit boring. Oh, maybe I have a pack size chiseler? Nah. Do I have any... yeah, okay. Then we have a low pack size, that is fine. I think I still need another Terror Scarab. Because I think I used my last one, yeah. What I'm doing here is... Well, I love doing Breach, honestly, and I have a juicy Breach left here. Nice, nice, nice. But for the sake of the showcase, I will choose a short map. It's just Haunted Mansion with the Shrine strategy. Shrines, map mods, some Scarabs, Beyond, that's it. And the Chunks of Daily. So what we're gonna see are the Maven invitations, shrines, and each shrine is accompanied by a boss. Now, I do showcase this on the, I wanna say, extremely min-maxed version. However, you can push this even further, the build, but it's quite a lot of investment. But nevertheless, if you were not on this version of the build with Minion packed and all that, but you were on a 5 divine budget version on Cast When Stunned, you would have a similar result in terms of map clear. However, if you encounter the Maven invitations, you might get unlucky with your Ignite procs, and it's gonna take a while to kill them, but this just adds to your time to clear the map. It doesn't add to the gameplay much. What's gonna happen here, by the way, for all those who are not really, who don't know the build that well, I'm gonna press this button once. I'm gonna ignite myself. My ignite will be a mini righteous fire for me and all the enemies, thanks to the mod on my gloves. Ignites you inflict spread to other enemies. And yeah, this ignite then will deal tremendous amounts of damage on everything I touch. Enemies I touch will eventually explode. That explode deals tremendous amounts of damage because it also scales with fire damage and increased damage and stuff. And it will then inflict the ignite that is reflected back to me, so I have more righteous fire around me. Ignite, but it's kind of like righteous fire. And I will keep one-shotting everything that I touch. And my entire screen will self-clear itself. And this ignite from the gloves will linger, by the way. It not only does spread, well, it doesn't spread from me because it only spreads from enemies or to other enemies, but it doesn't spread from myself. It only deals damage while it's on myself, but it does spread when an enemy is ignited. So once an enemy is ignited, it will spread through the entire enemy it touches, and we have a lot of increased area of effect. And even if they die, it still lingers on the ground for the entire ignite duration. Our ignite duration is like 9 seconds or something, and everything that walks in there is gonna die. So this is gonna happen. I'm gonna click this. So now I'm not dealing any damage because I don't press anything, right? But I'm kinda unkillable. So if I press a button, my entire screen is gonna clear. I have ignite here. Keep in mind that even if I inflict 20, 30, 40 ignites, right? Technically, they are all on me, but only one ignite will deal damage. So even if this now goes down to 1, I probably have another one, right? Not because I gained another one, but because there was another one still on me, but I can only ever have one, let's say, dominant ignite that actually does something. The others are there, but passively. So see, I don't press any buttons. I just killed him by staying next to him because of my big ignite that I got from some explosion. Things that is kind of like the core concept of any Fulcrum build. And yeah, after I've done my map, I will explain this core concept to anyone, so it is easily understood by anyone, even if you never heard of it before, and you got an idea of how you can build your own character without... oh, that was the Maven invitation, I guess. Goodbye. So yeah, my goal is to kind of explain this to anyone, so you don't have to follow a build guide or anything. You can just flex it on your own and have great success with it. That is my goal, because I think this build is just very, very nice, always has been. And now I don't have any ignite, so nothing's gonna happen here. Oh, something did damage to me, I guess. But yeah, I press my button and everything is fine again. So, cast when stunned exists. If I would be cast when stunned, I would have never pressed any button, because every time I get stunned, and I get stunned with every hit, I would spam my abilities and kill stuff. The only reason for why you would not want to play Castman Stunt, but instead a Minion packed version, which is what I'm playing right now, so the flavor of the league, right, is because you want tremendous amounts of single target damage. That is the only reason. You have enough single target damage with the Castman Stunt version also, but only if you first get a big ignite. And sometimes you're in a scenario where there's only one enemy, one big boss, and there are no small enemies, and then it's kind of awkward. Then you need to scale a lot of increased fire damage to not stand there for 3 minutes straight and wait until the boss is gonna die, which is obviously annoying at times. And for that to not be the case, it's cooler to have an option to go on a more proactive side of gameplay. So I decided to go Minion packed, and it's gonna get nerfed 100%, but it is quite fun, this league, even though it's a big investment for a fairly small gain, so to say. But it's worth it. I mean, this is kind of how the game works, right? You create your own problems here, not problems, but like you create your own puzzle. Like, what do you want to achieve? And most people, maybe not most people, but for me, I always want to create a build that is like giga broken in terms of I just kill everything by just moving there, and I'm fast and I'm unkillable and easy level 100, right? And this is kind of what is my puzzle, and so I have lots of fun by puzzling myself through my playthrough, and eventually have a very cool build like this. Sadly, once I have a very cool build like this, it's kind of like, oh, my puzzle is now finished. Then you stop playing the game. This is quite sad. But right now, while I'm doing the showcase, and I already did it today, I fairly enjoy playing this build because it's just so smooth, right? It's just so smooth. You don't really die, you don't really have to press any buttons. It's totally okay to just AFK in midst of monsters. It's even kind of like the way the build should be played. And yeah, it's a lovely build. It's probably not as broken as... damage-wise, it's probably not as broken as the Blade Vortex builds, because even though we are at dot cap, so we can't deal more damage with our Ignite, at least not from Hex Blast. Dot cap is at 36 million damage per second. So even though our Ignite goes 9 seconds, so that is 9 times 36 million, which is a lot of damage and enough to clear all the Ubers pretty easily, and Nightmare Mats and stuff like this. Blade Vortex can easily top that, but Blade Vortex is kind of... You don't go Fulcrum and Blade Vortex, it's kind of... Nah. And also, well, Charlatan builds might be cool as well with Headhunter, right? I could technically go Headhunter, but nah, I love Mage Blood. And I'm happy that this flask sometimes gives this Headhunter buff, so that's cool enough for me. And yeah, I'd be happy with what I have here. And I'd like to share for anyone who wants to play the exact version or a similar version of this league still, or maybe just have a video to watch for next league or next time you are trying to play your own build. Or maybe just go a different direction but with the same archetype, right? So yeah, this is what we're gonna do here. And I'm gonna start explaining now the core mechanics of the build, which is fairly simple, fairly cheap, nothing fancy. Fulcrum, you get that in Heist, the stuff. I don't know if it drops anywhere else but in Heist. Ah, yeah, well, sure, Valdo maps. Valdo maps and yeah, and Heist, I believe. It's not that rare, it's very cheap. But yeah, you need Fulcrum. And if you read the item, a lot of lines, a lot of stuff. The only thing that matters out of everything, the only thing that matters on this item. Elemental ailments you inflict are reflected back to you. That's the only line that matters. Now, why? Because we want to ignite ourselves. Then have this ignites you inflict spread to other enemies, as I already explained, as a mini righteous fire around us, and just run through the map and kill everything. Question: where do we get an ignite big enough that one-shots everything? Answer: this one. Inocorus, Death Fury, Chieftain, Ascendancy. It is just your usual exploding mod. However, normally your exploding mod is on your chest or a synthesized item and says has a 10% chance to kill enemy, blah blah blah. Exploding, dealing 10% of their maximum health as physical damage is the usual version, right? This one, first of all, is fire damage already, and secondly, 250% of their maximum life. Huh? What is that? So, let's say, if we enter a map, it doesn't matter if the map is T16 or T1, it doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters is how much HP are the mobs gonna have. So, if we kill a white mob, without any scaling, without any increased fire damage, our explosion deals 250% of the maximum life, and if we then have 100% chance to ignite, we get an ignite that deals enough damage to kill every other white mob in less than a second, in less than half a second. Because the way ignite works, you're on fire. Take fire damage over time for duration. Default is 4 seconds. Default seconds, 4 seconds. The dot is scaled with base fire damage of the hit. Default, 90% of the base fire damage per second. Meaning, if I deal 100 damage and I have 100% chance to ignite, the enemy is going to be ignited for 90 damage per second for 4 seconds. This also implies that if I increase the duration of the ignite, so let's say I increase it by 100%, so the ignite duration is now 8 seconds, it's still 90% of the base fire damage per second. So it's double the damage in double the amount of time, right? So that is that. There are also mods that say that ignite inflicts damage in a shorter period of time. Those are different. So if you prolong the duration of ignite, it just still deals the same amount of damage per second, just for longer. However, if you say ignites you in, is it here? Yeah, deal damage 15% faster. Yeah, they will do the same total damage over a shorter duration. So you shorten the ignite duration, but deal the same damage. So you can pick up nodes like this to increase your damage. However, I'm first of all already at dot cap, and secondly, this is only dot cap from this skill. The explosion is already always gonna be enough damage for everything, basically. Because let's say you're doing breach, right? Obviously, you're gonna explode white mobs and blue mobs everywhere, but eventually you are gonna explode a rare mob, and if you explode a rare mob, you can just pass by some unique mobs, and the unique mobs will just and be gone. It's just that much damage, right? It ties in perfectly with unaffected by ignite. Nice. So we still get ignited, but we are unaffected by it. Talking about getting ignited, since I didn't finish that. Fulcrum. So elemental elements you inflict are reflected to you. So yeah, we wanna have a chance of 100% to ignite an enemy. So we always, if we ignite something or if we hit something, we always get ignited back. We want that. This is what we want. This is the heart of the build. However, we don't want to shock or freeze ourselves or chill. So first of all, we gotta deal with the shock problem. I just always pick up the Pantheon with a reduced effect of shock on myself, and then pick up either corruption implicit with reduced effect of shock, or maybe just the usual mod on a jewel. You can also just pick the mod at T1 35%. Obviously it's gonna be T1, but at 35%, and then you're at 95% reduced effect of shock. This is mostly enough. Not 100, but it's mostly enough. Also, you can get avoid being shocked on stuff, on like timeless jewels and stuff. You can get avoid being chilled 100% on the boots as a craft, I believe, but I always pick up Wrapped in Flame. It's a medium cluster node because cannot be chilled while burning. We're mostly burning. It doesn't help against. It doesn't not help against chilled ground, sadly, but that's fine since we therefore get the chance to cover enemies in ash and also increase fire damage. Very cool for one node. Super cool. I love that. So we fixed the shock problem, the chill problem. Now we need 100% chance to ignite. And we also can reach this without a big investment, without any investment at all, except for rolling flask. That is because we take 30% here, so we have 30% chance to ignite, 50% chance to ignite. Then lights. You need one more cluster node, right? Then we pick up Cooked Alive and have 15% chance to ignite. So now we are at 56% chance to ignite. Now, if you pick up a flask with T1 mod chance to freeze, shock and ignite, the maximum roll is 34%. So with the flask you would be at 99% only. People might say this is enough, and it certainly is enough, but 100%. Yeah, 99 is doable, it's not that bad, right? But 100% is... Why not go for 100%, right? You can do that with a tattoo, or maybe ignite chunks on a jewel that exists, or if you have mage bloods, obviously, you can opt for a lot, because chunks to ignite currently is 101%, but if I pick the flask off, it's only 35%, so mage blood does a lot. Same for the maximum fire resistance, which I will cover later. Yeah, so we have now 100% chance to ignite, we are shock immune, we are chill immune. We are Chieftain, and we skilled this and this, so we are ready to go. Any map, if you can survive the map, you can do any map now. Really, any map, it doesn't matter, because your damage is based on the HP of the monsters, and that is tied to what the map is, right? So you can do any map, technically, as long as you can survive it. Also, you really don't need to invest in any damage if you don't want to, because you have Ramakusan's Light that says nearby enemy monsters' fire resistance against damage over time is minus 20% while you are stationary. It does not say it's reduced by 20%, it does not say it gets subtracted minus 20%. It says the flat total, it overrides everything else and just says ultimately the enemy monsters' fire resistance against damage over time is minus 20%, period, while you're stationary and next to it. So you don't need to invest in any lowering elemental resistances or any curses like flammability or elemental whatever, however it's elemental weakness, right? This is enough. This is enough. However, you need to be able to be stationary next to the mob you want to kill, and if there's a mob you want to kill, it's probably either Giga buffed rare or a boss. There's nothing else that doesn't die, right? So you kind of need to be tanky enough to be able to do that. Before I will cover that, I will just mention that the build became popular as a magic finder, by the way, because it's so simple to set it up. Everything I've mentioned so far is enough to set the build up, basically, to do giga high maps, because your damage is already solved, right? Your damage is already solved. Even if you come with the weakest approach to solve your defensives now, you can clear T16 maps. So back in the time you had Magic Find gloves, where Quant was still a thing as a mod, Magic Find boots, Magic Find rings. Helmet was only rarity, was actually a rare base, there was no Magic Find helmet, I believe, not for Quant. And your necklace was some random stuff as well, not magic. Oh, sometimes it was Magic Find, I believe. Some rare amulet, some weird one, but yeah, your most big slots were covered by Magic Find and a 1C Cloak of Flame most of the time. So this was a big Magic Finder, because you had all this damage without any investment, really. Very cool. Now we can only stack rarity instead of quantity, so you can still make it a big Magic Finder in a way, but you only find lots of uniques, and quite frankly, when I had like 500% rarity, I did find a lot of uniques that were worth some chaos or maybe 2 divines, lots of them, but I feel like as long as you have some rarity, like 100%, and currency isn't even affected by rarity, right? So 100% rarity or 200% already does a lot, and I'm quite frankly happy with that. You saw how many currencies I dropped by doing my map earlier, and that was a bit over. Maybe if I wouldn't have dropped the 1 divine I also dropped, it was just average currency I got there. And mind you, I also got Maven Chisels. I at least got 1 chisel for divination, which is at 7. Oh, it went down. It was at 300 chaos the other day. But yeah, and I got 2 val. This was quite normal for me. And I only have like 100% rarity currently, and currency isn't affected by rarity, right? So it's not like you're missing out much if you don't go full rarity maxing. So I decided at a point I go damage maxing. So what I'm gonna show you is a build that is more optimized for damage in both ways, in cast when stunned and in the more proactive way of playing, which in this case is minion packed. But yeah, you technically don't have to invest in any damage, and you can do whatever you want, since this gets you covered for everything but single target bosses, in a way. Now, was there anything I'm missing? No. talking about Ramakos, so you want to be stationary next to the boss you want to kill. So you have to be tanky enough. Small mobs you don't care about small mobs, but you have to be tanky enough to be tanking Giga buffed rares and bosses like the Breach boss in the T60 map, right? You want to be tanky enough to stand next to him. You don't really have to, because it's not like you have to be stationary for a second or something, you just have to be stationary. So you can move there and walk and stop and move and stop. You can just dodge stuff, but ideally you want to be full AFK and not die and kill enemies. This is what you want. Luckily, Chieftain is such a great ascendancy, but because there's so much, with Fulcrum, so much stuff interacting, this is just beautiful. So this one already says that you get cold and lightning res if you just stack fire res, right? Which is quite cool, because we then can only focus on fire res and skill a life region for each uncapped fire res for some region. I believe this is my, I can undo it. I'm currently at 473. If I undo it, I'm at 166, so I mean, it's not the world to have that, right? But it is quite convenient to have it, especially earlier on. So that is quite nice. That is one small defensive layer. The next one is modifiers to maximum fire resistance also apply to maximum cold and lightning resistances. So if we stack maximum fire resistance, we are stacking maximum all resistances. To do that, it's quite cheap also, because early on, before you invest into anything, it's very easy, because this is your starting point, right? To go into max fire res here, max fire res there, so you get +3 to maximum fire res, so your baseline at 75, now you're at 78. You can pick up these, so now you get 3 more, so you're at 81%. You can pick up a rupee flask, 5%, so then you're at 86%. And mind you, if you do not have mage blood, right, if it's the sleek start or you don't have a lot of currency, you can pick up any belt, really, any belt. It doesn't matter. Pick up any belt, get brutal restraint, maybe with I don't know, some decks, and maybe you gain onslaught for 8 seconds on kill. Maybe this combo is quite cool, and make it come from Bala Bala, oder? Well, Bala, I don't, but it will give you the traitor. And the traitor says flask gain 4 charges per empty flask slot every 5 seconds. This means if you only have 3 flasks equipped and 2 empty flask slots, and you take a ruby flask, it doesn't have to have more than 20% quality, 20 is just fine, but it's easier to roll then you can look for increased charge recovery or increased duration or reduced flask charges per use, I believe, and it will last forever. You click it once at the start of your map, it will last for the entire map. It will recover more charges than it will spend charges. It does not work for Quicksilver and Granite, but it almost works. Like, I believe the Granite flask this one can like go 5 times. So 5 times 7.6 seconds, so like 40 seconds without running out. And if you kill mobs and gain charges while doing that, it's kind of on for the entire map as well. So you can put cool mods on your flask and always have them upright, like reduced effect of curses, reduced effect of shock, freeze shock and ignite, or increased armor or stuff like that. Whatever you wish, whatever you need, right? This is quite cool if you don't have mage blood. So yeah, we are at 86 always now with only the nodes 6% and the flask 5%. So we're still missing 4%. You can make up the 4% by either rare jewel for max fire res, or you pick up purity of fire. This is an aura. You know the aura, I don't have to show you. It's Purity of Fire, and it gives you at level 20 4% maximum fire res and fire res flats, and at like level 21 or 22 or 23, so somewhere like there, you get 5% max fire res even. And yeah, you put in that one until you have 90% without that and swap it for a different aura. But for starters, you just put in Purity of Fire and you'll be fine, or 2 rare sockets, whatever you want, jewels I mean. So yeah, then you're already 90 auras. This is covered, done, period. What else? Chaos res. So chaos is mostly damage over time. However, the archetype of this build regenerates a lot of life through either recoup or life regen or recovery or leech stuff. So chaos damage over time. And if we have 75% chaos res, this is enough. We don't need more. Just go 75%. On your item, stack chaos res or skill it on the tree or on your cluster jewels, wherever you can find it. Just go for chaos res that you're at 75. I believe I'm even at 140%, so It's not like you have to squeeze it in there. There's enough. You have enough opportunity to opt for Chaos Rush. Really easy. So Chaos Rush is done. 90 all res on all the elemental resistances. Now physical damage. How do we solve this? First of all, your go-to auras, if you're just starting out, are Purity of Fire, Determination, and Arctic Armor. Arctic Armor makes us also Freeze Immune, because right now we are only Chill Immune, right? With this we are Freeze Immune, no matter if we're stationary or not. However, if we are stationary, we take 20% less physical and fire damage from hits. Super cool. So we got less of physical damage mitigation here, but it's also very easy to go for 90% physical damage reduction, because we have Determination. This version doesn't have it, but usually you have it early on. And then you just pick up your armor bases, like armor-based boots, gloves, and a helmet perhaps. Look at this helmet. It only has one armor mod, one. Increased armor, T1. And we get 1.6k armor from this helmet alone. What? Then you can also pick up a granite flask, or at least a flask with increased armor during effect if you want. And you're easily at 90%. I'm not at 90% because I don't have Determination. Therefore I have Flesh and Stone, which says while in Sandstone's buff makes you take up to 21% less damage from enemies in aura. Keep in mind, this is kind of like based on distance. So enemies, if an enemy is within you, you take 21% less damage from the enemy. If he is in your aura but further away, it's less than that, but we are kind of standing within enemies most of the time. Like the big enemies you want to kill that are not one-shot, right? So this is pretty cool, especially with this. So we get already 40% less damage, right? Very cool, very nice. And yeah, to top this all off, you see all people play Cloak of Flame. Why is that? First of all, it's giga cheap. And because it's giga common and giga cheap, we pick one with a good corruption. If you need to be crit immune, you take this one. Or not crit immune, but if you don't have anything against crit, you take this one. If you are crit immune because your castman stunned, I'll cover that later, you pick on with reduced fire damage taken or increased damage or whatever, but you pick a good corruption, right? You don't even need to go for 6 link or 6 socket, because keep in mind, you just buy one with a good corruption and then you just throw tainted currency, which is most of the time giga cheap. And keep in mind, tainted currency is not like the usual currency, it just unpredictably adds or removes a socket on a corrupted item. Same for the links, so same for the colors, so it's completely 50% if it adds or removes a socket. So to hit a 6 socket on a corrupted item is way easier than to hit a 6 socket on an uncorrupted item, because this one takes probably, sometimes it only takes 5 jewelers, and this one takes a bit more on average if you don't use the crafting recipes, right? And even then it takes more, so usually this goes quickly, pretty fast. Same for the colors. This one is energy shield based, so it should only hit blue sockets, but with chromatic orbs tainted, you hit random colors, so it's very easy to get your colors. So just pick a good corruption. Also we get fire res, nice. Also we get increased ignite duration from enemies. Also that is increased ignite duration on ourselves, since it lingers even, which is pretty cool. Like I already explained this, but so it chains to the entire mobs on the screen, and then it lingers on the ground for 9 seconds. And if then beyond mobs spawn within, or any mob runs into this burning grounds of lingering ignites, they just die to the damage from it. Very cool. So increased ignite duration, very nice. And 40% of physical damage taken at fire damage. So even if we are not, this is super strong. This is especially super strong if you are not at 90% physical damage mitigation. However, this becomes especially strong if we combine this with endurance charges. Now, to skill endurance charges, if you are a Chieftain, you will probably either go here or here, and you will 99% go here, so, and pick up the jewel slot, because it's 2 points, right? So you invest 1 and 2 3 points, so you get 5 endurance charges, and then something to generate endurance charges. You can either go endurance charges on kill early on. It doesn't help you in a 1v1 scenario, but it does help you. It might help you on cast and stun, but it does help you while mapping. Or you can pick up a cluster jewel with enduring composure. Just any cluster jewel that grants armor, a small one. Just roll with alt. It's super common, this mod, and it says gain 1 endurance shot every second if you've been hit recently. You can also go for how's it called? Cast and stuns. Yeah, Forbidden Flash and Forbidden Flame command. This is a bit more expensive, but it gives you unflinching. And unflinching is this one. chance to gain an endurance charge when you are hit, chance that you gain maximum endurance charges when you would gain endurance charges, gain 1 endurance charge every second if you've been hit recently, and 1 to maximum endurance charges. Also very cool for your effective hit pool and your physical max hit. Because what endurance charges do is per endurance charge you get an additional 4% physical damage reduction. This doesn't matter as much because if you're already at 90%, this doesn't do anything. However, it also gives elemental damage reduction. So elemental damage reduction. So we are at 90 RS, 90% physical damage reduction. Then we even transfer some of the physical damage we take into fire damage, and then we then take also reduced fire damage because we take reduced elemental damage from this. Maybe even combined with a different corruption that says 6% reduced fire damage taken on our Cloak of Flame, or maybe reduced elemental damage taken while stationary on our boots also. We take so much reduced damage, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, if we have that, we can also get the mod on our helmet. This is pretty cool, by the way, since you have all these slots for these items that you can just flex. You can obviously go for double influence items, but the cheapest and most convenient option you have here is go for Eldritch influence items, because the implicits are actually good for you. Like physical damage from hits taken as fire damage, super good for you. Leeches life, fire damage, and ignite spreads. Can I talk? Super good for you. And the boots also have some super nice implicits. And the cool part is that because you need those implicits, or those are very good for you, you can go for fractured items, which you can't go for with double influence items, right? So you can go for fractured items, okay, you can fracture them yourselves, craft with essences, and craft with Eldritch currency, that you only reroll your suffixes or prefixes. You can also go for veiled chaos orbs. This is how I made this helmet, for example. I just threw the mana reservation efficiency onto there and a fracturing orb until I finally fractured it. Then I alteration rolled until I had increased armor. And no, I harvest rolled for Minion, right? Until I had +2 to level of all Minion skill gems and armor. And then I said prefixes cannot be changed. And then I threw a veiled chaos orb until I had the +2 level to circulate AoE gems for my auras that are in there. And then I said prefixes cannot be changed again and said reforge chaos, because I can only hit chaos res until I hit the 1 in 6, that is T1 chaos res. And then I just crafted my crafted mod, right? If you would do that for a different version of the helmets, you can opt for rarity if you want, right? You can opt for just armor and max life. You can do so much different stuff. I have so many items I crafted that were good for certain parts where I was playing the build. This one was for what? To have +4 on my aura gems, but it wasn't really useful. This one was for the minion build with the rarity of item drops, but I needed mana reservation. This one was just very cheap as I was starting out, so I went for a cheap chaos fracture. This one was for rarity maxing, but with multi-mods. It's so same for the boots and the gloves. You can flex so much. It's so easy to craft, really. And even though it's easy to craft, you can create such great items like these boots. I mean, what do we have here? Reduced elemental damage taken while stationary. This is just an essence fracture. Then I rolled with alterations, maximum life and increased armor, T1. Like I already explained, then prefixes cannot be changed, veiled chaos orb until I get my onslaught movement speed, and then reforge chaos, and then aspect on the spider onto it, and we have a great pair of boots. Very cool. And yeah, so these items are very easy to craft with the armor bases, lots of armors, lots of defensive stuff, and yeah, this is then covering your defensive layers almost, because technically, right now, with everything I explained, we can tank lots of stuff. Nothing will truly one-shot us if we have some lives. Like, there's not much that can actually one-shot us, except you click some weird altars or do some giga-juiced late-game content, but there's not much that can one-shot us. However, we will still lose health if we get hit, if we only have that, right? One way to mitigate that is... why was there hair in my mouth? One way to mitigate that is Defiance of Destiny. You see that on a lot of people. It's a bit expensive and I don't recommend it. It's not bad or anything, It's a pretty cool item actually. I did play it in earlier leagues, but not this one. It says you gain of missing unreserved life before being hit by an enemy. So if an hit is about to hit you, before it hits you, it heals you if you are if you are lower on life. So this is pretty cool. To not get killed by being hit a lot. But what I discovered is way cooler is just optimizing for block as your final defensive layer. Sure, we are using a staff, not a shield, so it's harder to max our block, but it's not impossible and it doesn't require lots of investment. So we have 25% base chance to block attack damage with our staff. Right next to where we path anyways, we pick up 4 nodes that give us, I believe, 17% to block attack and spell damage while wielding a staff and chance to get a power charge. So that is quite convenient, quite cool. The mastery is also not bad, but we don't need it. This one is also next to where we want to go, and it says increased area of effect, or spell block, but increased area of effect, super cool. And also spell block and more power charge stuff and more increased area of effect, super cool. Even on it's always cool to get increased area of effect without a big of an investment and without wasting lots of points, right? Because usually the increased area of effect nodes are here and it's like 10%. And here we get 15, 12 and per power charge. Okay, it's 9% because we only have 3, but still, it's very nice to take. A bit further investing requires this one with the nodes, like 2, 3 extra nodes. Maybe only 1 if you take this one, but what we get therefore is super cool also. Spell block, and maximum chance to block spell damage, and big spell, and recover 50 energy shield when you block spell damage. I know that recover is over a time usually, so it can't be that broken as it is in my head, but I feel like if you have at least 50 energy shield, and if you get hit by hundreds of mobs, this alone makes you so tankable, because every time you get hit it restarts, and it's like, I don't know why, it feels like you get like 500 regen out of this nodes in terms of energy shield. It's like super cool for small hits. Doesn't do anything for big hits obviously, but super cool for small hits. And chance to black spell damage per 5% chance to black attack damage. If we tie this with a very cheap anoint, which is this one, violet, nothing expensive here, we are at, let me see, I need to pick this one out. 55 chance to block attack damage and 72 chance to block spell damage. We could be higher if we would, no, we couldn't be higher, forget it. I have Elegant Rubius with 12% chance to block spell damage, correct. If you only look for this mod, it's very cheap with maybe increased maximum life or anything. It's very cheap to get this. But yeah, have this. You don't need it. You can also go for, how is it called? Intuitive Leap and just skill these 2 and anoint something else. Or you can skill these nodes, right? These are 8. And then here another 6. And you wouldn't need that, but yeah. You are already good, in a good in terms of block, you're already stacked without anything too fancy. And if you want, you can go for the Red Nightmare Crimson Jewel. 10% of fire is extra chaos. It's not even a bad mod for us. It's 10% more damage, pretty cool. However, it's quite expensive, like 10 div. Maybe less if we ignore this, right? 8 div, 8 to 10 div, it's fine. But if we put this in with some tattoos, even without the tattoos it's great, but with some, because we get 4% here, 1% here, another 4% here. If you have a belt that you can anoint because you don't have mage blood, you get another 7% chance to block attack damage here. However, if you don't do that, you have to tattoo these ones. I know every tattoo costs 1 div, but you can get them easily yourself if you just send some like 7 million shipment to the Nagamu port at your King's March Staffel, so it's very easy to get them yourself, not a big deal. And yeah, with that you have a good block Staffel, and it feels so, you're so tank, it feels so good because it just feels, I love block. I didn't play block before this league I played it, at least not on this build, and it feels so good. You're already so tanky, and with block, can only recommend it, would always play this. And yeah, this is our final defensive layer, so 90 auras, physical damage mitigation with Cleric of Flame and Helmet implicit, or 90% physical damage reduction anyway, endurance charges and block. Very cool. Yeah, then if we covered all this, right, then there is your personal question, because you kinda have to do all this to get the build feel really good. But once you are there, you can decide for yourself. I mean, every way leads to Rome, right? So you can flex the build however you want. It doesn't have to be too specific. You can flex so much stuff with this build, but the important question is just, how do I want to deal damage to the mobs in order to proc my big explosion? What do I want to do? Now, obviously you can go proactive. You can even play Rage's Fire, but mind you, Rage's Fire is kind of... First of all, it doesn't ignite on its own. Secondly, it kind of does what the Fulcrum combo does, so it's kind of double dipping in a weird way, so I wouldn't recommend going Rage's Fire. But if you go Fire Trap, for example, you could go Rage's Fire, so Fire Trap deals more damage, you can do that. You can do some weird Petrified Blood, low life stuff if you want. There's much you can do. That is all very proactive, however I don't like Fire Trap that much. So if you're on a budget, that is anyway, I would always for starters recommend go cast when stunned. Really, cast when stunned is the coolest stuff. It's the coolest archetype of build for this one especially. What you're doing is you can just AFK in midst of hundreds of big monsters and you won't die, and everything around you will die eventually. But it will die, except for bosses that might trouble you at some point. But you'll figure out how to play around that, and it will feel really great. There's so much cool interactions. And if you want to play cast when stunned, all you need is, well, stuff I already mentioned here. Plus this ring, it's 1 chaos without the corruption. 1 chaos, very cheap. If I do 1 breach, I see this ring, not 1 breach, but if I do 1 breach map, I see this ring 5 times. It's really common. It's even, this build is playable on Solus Hellfount, I believe. Sure, you have to farm Fulcrum in some heist, but it's not really rare in heist. This chest might be the biggest problem because it's also not rare. Nameless Seer also gives you a lot. It gives you this chest a lot, but I saw it like 5 times this league, so it's not that common, but it is quite common. And also like a legacy core item, so it's not tied to any special content. This ring is super common, super common. What it says is stun threshold is based on energy shield instead of life. If we only have energy shield based on our chest, this means that everything that hits us stuns us. Even if we block it, it stuns us. It is playable, by the way. If you like Ultimatum play or something like that, it is playable. You can play that as it is. It is playable. You kinda can play it as it is, but it is in fact quite annoying if everything stuns you and you notice the stun. So you want to get an immutable force. It is not expensive. Mind you that you might have heard a lot of rumors that because of server ticks and stuff like that, you need it to be like 965 or something like that. I'm not sure what the exact number was, but you need it to be around above 960 at least, and then it becomes quite expensive. However, that doesn't really matter, because if you are cast when stunned, you're conveniently skilling this right next to this one. Because first of all, regenerate life and energy shield over 1 second when stunned. Pretty cool. This is instantly up basically if something hits you right. But the mastery here is hits against you cannot be critical strikes if you've been stunned recently. So the first hit, if the first hit is a hit that might one-shot you for whatever reason, it first of all has to go through your block chunks. And if it doesn't, you got hit recently, so you're then crit immune. Very cool, notable. But in order to reach this, we need to skill 80% increase stun block recovery. So this 80% gets added to the immutable force. So if we have this immutable force and this notables, we are above 1000%, and we don't need that much. So it's not, there's no point in going for a super expensive one if you skill that right. So you need these two. Then you also need Blood Nudge. You don't need it, but it's very convenient because up to 30% of damage taken from stunning hits is recovered as life. Also very cheap, very, very cheap, this rule. Even if you go for 90 to 29%, 60 chaos, 30%, which is the max roll, by the way. Yeah, then it's maybe a bit more expensive, but it's so cool to have this. It only does something after you got hit, sure, but if you ever drop low, it's like instant recovery, right? Not instant, but at least you recover it because everything stuns you basically. So even most damage over time stuff like this Shaper Beam is stun, so to say. So it's very cool. Tied with some recoup maybe here, or maybe recoup on your helmet, because usually helmets have this fire damage taken recouped as life. Or maybe you have it on your ring, recouped as life. You have so much life regen, recoup, leech stuff all together that you're rarely gonna go low life like over time. And if you do, because you tanked something big, you will recover it immediately. Very cool. So yeah, these three, very nice. Then the only obstacle for you is just, how do I kill my Uber bosses? How do I kill my Maven? How do I kill map bosses without any mobs being around? Therefore you pick up the Hateful Accuser. First of all, it's a pretty good ring on its own. Increase elemental ailment duration on you, nice. Reduce the effect of curses on you, nice. Paired with a flask, we are curse immune, nice. 60 max life, chaos rest, not a lot, but it's still nice. Cast speed, we can make use of somewhat as well. And Penance Mark. Penance Mark, you cast it on an enemy, it is marked then permanently. And what it does is it spawns ghosts that attack you. So while they are attacking you, they are constantly triggering your everything that triggers when you get stunned, right? Because they are attacking you. If you have enough AoE, I don't know how much this is, or if you're placed correctly, eventually one of those ghosts will explode and trigger Death Fury and hit the boss with the explosion. Now, the ghosts have 45k HP, which is not a lot, but if you scale fire damage, you also scale the ignite of the explosion and the explosion damage on its own. So if you... even if you don't have that much fire damage, it's easy to get this explosion to deal 5000% of the enemy's max HP. So if we are talking about 5000% of enemies max HP on a 45k ghost, that is 2 million damage hit on the boss, which then becomes an ignite for 8 seconds or something that deals almost 2 million damage per second. That might not be a lot, but that is enough to kill nightmare bosses, to kill Ubers within a minute or something, right? So you can do that if you do that, and as long as you're not fighting Ubers, you just have this sitting in your inventory somewhere and put on a different ring. I always had this rarity maxing ring with armor and life, pretty cool, but you can also go for damage maxing, whatever you want, right? Rares are still the same as I already explained, just usual stuff. Necklace, yeah, this one was for rarity maxing and damage maxing, like quite the combination of it. It's not the perfect one, but it's a good one, I believe. It is easy. The Simplex Amulet costs like what, 30 div, the base, without any mods, right? It's super expensive. Hello? It's a base item, hello. 19 div currently, yeah. So the base is expensive, but it's easy to roll. You just roll increased fire damage essences until you get damage over time multiplier, and then you somehow get a prefix with something, right? But I opt for rarity, but this is just too expensive to recommend it. I would recommend to just pick up a normal one with attributes, because you will need some attributes on the build. Surely a lot of people might be playing some Elegant Hubris with ignore attribute requirements. However, those are extremely expensive this league if you want some good notables. So I would just recommend to just stack the attributes. You don't even have to take these nodes, because it's so annoying to skill those, right? You don't have to do that. You either go for cluster jewels that have attributes, because think about it, this cluster jewel, it has attributes, max life, chaos rest, pretty cool, and it still has 16% increased fire damage. So if I would be playing a cluster jewel that, for example, this one has Burning Bright, Sardis, and Widespread Destruction, right? Yeah, sure, those nodes give me like 20% increased elemental damage, increased area of effect, but this one gives me 16% per node as well. So I skill 3 nodes here and get 48% increased fire damage, and the attributes and stuff. Super cool. I can go for attributes on this one as well. And if the situation is really dire, I just put attributes on one of my rings or my gloves, like Dex or something. But usually just pick an amulet with dex and ints. And then don't opt for rarity like I did, but instead just look for the damage over time multiplier fracture and just roll with increased fire damage essence until you get your max level chaos risk, whatever you want, right? Pretty simple. You don't need level 2 all skill gems if you play cast from stuns anyway, so this makes stuff lots and cheaper. So that is that. Yeah, so we covered what you need for cast from stunt. So what skills do you play when you're cast from stunt? Whenever you cast from stunt or not, your 6th link is probably most likely gonna be Phase Run and Steel Skin with automation. This is baseline. Now this is quite cool on its own because Steel Skin removes bleeds, right? So if you're not bleed immune with a flask or with a Watcher's Eye or something like that, you are then bleed immune thanks to Steel Skin. Very nice. However, as a 3 link, it's kind of wasted, I feel like, because Phase Run on its own only gives you, what, 49% movement speeds? Yeah, okay, maybe that is enough, I guess. But if you tie it with Enhance, you get more, you get 62% increased movement speed, right? So this is nice, and this one has increased cooldown recovery for the quality that Enhance grants, and then maybe put on more duration support for Phase Run or Steel Skin, or just this new cooldown recovery support. That is pretty cool. I have Convocation here, but this is because I play the Minion version. But yeah, your 6th link is probably gonna be in your weapon Phase Run. It's just gonna be Phase Run. For the most part, it's Phase Run. Auras doesn't... yeah, it's just Phase Run. Then, if you play cast one stunt, you need one... you have your helmet for your auras. Your auras, if you're going on a budget, Determination, Purity of Fire, Arctic Armor, and maybe Flesh and Stone, depending on how much you can squeeze in, right? If you're not on a budget, you can go for Flesh and Stone, Malevolence, Arctic Armor, and maybe go for Aspect of the Spider. Aspect of the Spider is a craft you can throw on your items with Beast Crafting, and it says for each second an enemy is in your presence, it takes 5% increased damage and is getting hindered. So the maximum duration is 4. So if it is 4 seconds in your presence, it takes 20% increased damage. Very cool. Arctic Armor, we talked about this. Flesh and Stone also reduced damage. Malevolence is maybe quite interesting for 2 things. First of all, the way you scale Ignite is increased fire damage, increased damage, your usual increased fire elemental damage, increased elemental damage, increased damage, increased fire damage, the usual victims, right? However, then you multiply this by fire damage over time multiplier and more damage over time multiplier. Those are all multiplicative or additive towards each other, but multiply your increased damage, right? But then Malevolence says you and nearby allies deal 21% more damage over time. For some reason, this is another multiplier, so it does not get added to the more damage over time multiplier. It just is another multiplier for some reason. So you actually deal 21% more damage over time. And you can then also pick up a Watcher's Eye for pretty cheap that, for example, says damage over time multiplier and unaffected by poison, or unaffected by bleeds, or whatever you want. Or maybe you have Determination and you pick up a cluster jewel that says, where do I have it? Do I have it here? A Watcher's Eye, I mean. I don't have it here. Do I have it in my shop maybe? Or did I sell it? Ah yeah, you can maybe say, take reduce extra damage from critical strikes, or stuff like that, right? It's not really expensive. Or life recovery rates. Or maybe you pick up Vitality for something. You can do whatever you want, right? So, but Malevolence, nice damage, but we only take it for damage, and damage in this type of build is only quality of life. It's not needed, it's just quality of life. But that is kind of what Path of Exile is about, right? So, that is that. So, you have your stuff for your Phase Run and Steel Skin automation setup, your head for your auras, then you have your gloves, and you put in your gloves, you usually put in any skill that kills an enemy, just to get your Ignite Explosion going. So you just need anything that kills an enemy. Usually it's cast when Stun and Life Tap, those are reserved, but with the Imbue this league, we can put in Wave of Conviction of Tratus, with supported by level 1 Life Tap, or maybe Firestorm of Pelting. Those 2 are enough. If you're just starting out and you don't have enough of damages because you're not maxing damage, you can put in Cool the Weak support. Where is it? I just saw it here, right. Cool the Weak support says you cool normal and magic rarity enemies that have 34% life or lower, just to kill enemies quicker. But Yeah, if you have enough damage and you have enough damage soon enough, you can just go cast and stand, Wave of Conviction of Tratus, and that is enough. That is enough, actually. With life, that is enough. I've put in Purity of Flame just because Consecrated Ground, and it also deals a lot of damage. And I put in Frostbomb. It's not useful. It is useful because 75% reduced life regeneration for enemies that are in the Frostbomb. But since this variation of my build already one-shot everything, basically, this was not really needed. I just put it in because it's a cool interaction, I feel like. So yeah. Then you have your chest. What do you put in your chest? If you want to play more proactive, you can do Fire Trap, Righteous Fire maybe, everything you want really, anything you want, every skill you like you can put it in. I decided I want to put something Detonate Dead in there. You can go Detonate Dead of Seething, you can go Volatile Dead of Seething, I mean you can go the usual Detonate Dead maybe with Desecrate even in your gloves, or Unearth, so you have corpses that you can explode on your own. That is also very cool. But I decided to go for Detonate Dead of Scavenging solely because, let's say I'm fighting the Maven Invitations or like 2 Beyond bosses or 3, and I kill only one of them early. The other 2 are still full life for some reason. If those that are full life walk into the corpse of the other guy and the corpse gets detonated by Detonate of Scavenging, it's just, they are just gone. They are just instant dead. That is pretty cool. So I had this in for that reason. Then I had Flame Surge of Combusting in because it creates Burning Ground based on the Ignite on the enemy. And with some luck, this Burning Ground will cull the enemy with Culling Strike support, so we get item rarity supports. Just for rarity finding. So, sure, Flame Surge of Combusting is very cool, can only recommend it, but it was only for the means of more item rarity. And cast and stun and life tip, obviously. Yeah, and then your boots, I think my boots were Frost Blink, I believe. And cast and stun Punishment, I think. Earlier you can do, I think I have it open here. Skills. Earlier I had Cast when Stunned, Purifying Flame, Frost Bomb, and probably like Frost Blink or something in my gloves. So those were all level 1, right? For just Purifying Flame and stuff like that. And then I had an entire 4-link for my Firestorm of Pelting with... oh no, Unearth, I have an Unearth here. Ha! This should be Cold the Week, actually. You can put in whatever, actually. You can put in whatever is fun for you. This is the beauty of Cast when Stunned build, but yeah. You can do it like this. It's gonna be fine. But you can, yeah, you can do whatever, actually. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. With that, you are set as a Cast when Stunned version, and I can even prove it to you. Give me a second. I will just open up an old YouTube video. I've showed this before in a different video, but I think it's just too beautiful. And yeah, where is it? View your channel. No, wrong one. Hey. I swear. By the way, I showed this build to a friend. I was playing Blade Vortex, not because I saw anything of the... Not because I saw anything of the Minion packed stuff, just because I wanted to play Blade Vortex, because I also like Blade Vortex a lot. But a friend of mine was playing Righteous Fire, so I kinda gave him, I just flooded him with items for cast and stuns, and I watched him play, and it was so fun that I just had to do it myself again. So I created my character. because I created my character because I was, I just finished my campaign there. I just put on really cheap gear, like, I crafted the rares myself, but really quick. And my skill gems were all level 1, and nothing was really expensive. And I just was level 64, 67. God damn it. And yeah, eventually I stopped being an idiot. And I got the explosion off with level 1 gems. So determination was level 1 as well, right? So eventually I got a kill. And the explosion went off. And this is what Cast when Stunned looks on a super mini budget. It was only a tier 11 8-mon map, but it wouldn't matter actually if it was tier 11 or tier 16. Isn't this beautiful? And I don't have any buttons to press. Do you see this? I don't have any buttons to press. Boom. Corrupted 8 mods, T11 map, breach, full breached Atlas. Oh, sorry. Boom. Yeah. I don't have any buttons. I can fast forward this a bit to also a very cool part. I'm gonna do this. I had so much fun there. I had so much fun. I had so much fun. And gem stuff. I wanna play so much fun. Aber amazing. Way too easy. Way too easy. No boss spawns, right? Rares? Look at this. No. More rares? Where's the boss? Wait. Sorry, this is too much fun. It's the first time playing this build because look at this. And it's the first time for me to actually play this, and I'm so happy that it's still such a nice build as I remembered it. Beautiful. It's just beautiful. Ah, I'm so happy. We have the boss. Okay, we have the boss. Where is he? Where is he? Can we kill him? This looks bad. I think we're gonna die. No, I lied. I think the boss is gonna die. Oh god. But yeah, you kinda see that even on a giga budget, because that was my path of building right there. I slightly updated it, so I was probably level... Is my level shown anywhere here? But yeah, what? Where's my level? I guess. But yeah, you can kind of see I just had... well, this build was pretty cool, but I just had this build. Random rare item that I just got with Chaos Rest Fracture for like some Chaos. Same for the gloves. Chaos Rest Fracture for some Chaos, and boots except same, and then I threw even movement speed essence, nothing special. My Fulcrum, my Cloak of Flame with just reduced fire damage taken, these 2 rings, a necklace with only 3 mods and 1 was rarity, 3 flasks, no expensive, or maybe, yeah, I crafted that one myself. Yeah, we don't talk about this one, but you don't need it, right? So none of those was expensive. Very, very generic, cheap, mostly skilled atrocity. You could basically play this on solo cell phone, right? So very easy. Yeah, there's that. That is cast on stuns. So if you want to play the build you just saw and you don't have a lot of currency, I recommend you to go play cast on stuns. Now, I do not currently play cast on stuns. I play Minion Pact, and even though I'm already at 1 hour and 7 minutes. Why does it keep getting longer? God damn it. I'm gonna go into this quickly. So, Minion Pack, you all know it. We sacrifice a random minion, and then we get added damage, added physical damage based on minion's maximum life. So what we want is to scale minion maximum life. The core things we need for that are increased maximum life from this elegant hubris. Yeah. 80% increased, 80% increased, 80% increased, and some spell block. You can get this for, I believe, 40 divine or something. I don't choose to go for reduced, for no attribute requirements. Well, while it would give me the opportunity to tattoo all these small nodes, right? For minion life also and stuff like this. The problem is that, first of all, if I would opt to find one of these with reduced attribute requirements or no attribute requirements, so from Victario, no, from Caspiro, right? This would cost me a mirror, just for this one thingy. And if I don't want to spend a mirror, I need to go for one with only 2 minions of 80% increased maximum life. So I could tattoo my small nodes, but tattooing my small nodes, what would it do? Okay, my int nodes. Increase minion life 5%, 5%, 10%, 15%, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40% increase minion life, which is, it does less, it literally does less than one with 3 increased maximum life nodes. Also my fire, my strength nodes, what do I go in here? Life region, I don't need life region, I'm level 100 already, I don't need life region, right? What else? Fire damage? Yeah, maybe, but I'm already at dot cap, so I don't... It's kind of useless, no? Dex, I don't even know what to pick for Dex. It's all useless. I don't know, it's not worth picking up because I don't... Look, no Dex, no int, no strength on none of my items. Only my necklace has stats. Only my necklace has Dex and int as the implicit. And yes, sure, I skilled some of these nodes here, but they also give fire damage because of Light of Meaning, right? By the way, this combo is really cool. I mean, lots of people do it, but it's just really cool. So you pick up Unnatural Instincts, which is really easy to find also. Maybe not with the implicits, but you pick this up. Like 2 Divine, you pick up Light of Meaning, which also usually is cheaper. Right now it's more expensive because people are doing weird stuff with it, but usually it's like 1 Divine and it's easy to farm. You just do King of the Mist, which like cost 30 Chaos. Then you have a 1 in 4 chance of dropping Light of Meaning, and then another 1 in 12 or something to get into. So you can farm it in solo self-mount even easily. But this one, passive skills and radius also grant 6% increased fire damage if we skill them, obviously. So this one doesn't grant only cold damage, cold resistance or lightning resistance anymore. It also gives 6% increased fire damage. Okay. Usually I put it like here or somewhere and skilled some stuff, and it was already good. But if you tie it up with Unnatural Instinct, read the second line. We have 10% increased spell damage, and below that 126% increased fire damage. Only because this counts as all the unallocated notables. We get the bonuses from them. So we also get the bonuses of increased fire damage from the Light of Meaning without allocating them. So if I were to put this one out and wait till this one updates, we lose 126% fire damage just because we put this in with this, right? And it then also grants 6% fire damage for these nodes here. So in total we have like 180% increased fire damage for this small combo, and this one is not even only doing that. We also get some increased area of effect, like 40% increased area of effect. Super cool, super nice. Skill effect duration, super cool. None of this is bad or not needed. We get some it's all good. Everything we get here is good from this one. Very nice. So this combo is super good if you just want to some increased damage. That aside, back to Minion Pact. So we want some Minion life. How do we get that? I already said here, 80% increased maximum Minion life. And then we want the new support gems, companionship support, obviously, because 80% more maximum life if they are your only minion. But most importantly, we want Raise Spectre as high as possible. To make it as high as possible, we need 2 level of socketed minion gems on our gloves, 2+ level of all Raise Spectre gems on our boots. This an elevated modifier, was pretty expensive to get, but to get these boots, to just get the mod is quite, well, it's still expensive, but yeah. So we get +2 here, +2 here, +2 on our helmet. That is really easy because any helmet can roll this. You just go to Harvest and roll for Minion. So that is really easy to get. And +1 or +2 to level of all skill gems on your neck. And with Empower support, you're already at level 31 Raise Spectre. Then you pick up a Perfect Dark Marionette, which respawns every 4 seconds, even if you kill it. That is the main reason why we pick it. And then we can press Hex Blast every 4 seconds. Hex Blast on its own does not much, actually, because even if you look at this, it deals 1.4k DPS because it's chaos damage. However, if the enemy is hexed, it deals 120% more damage with ailments and 300% more damage with hits. What? What? Those are such. I don't even know if they both apply, but nevertheless, those are such big multipliers that combined with the added damage from Minion Pact support, we just get a huge ignite, because therefore we also pick Herald of Ash. 21% of our physical damage is extra fire damage. I believe I could even get more damage if I would convert more fire damage with Fulcrum to physical damage. I just thought about that as I saw it. Maybe I should have done it earlier, but yeah. I don't know, does it help? Does it not help? It helps a little bit. Wait, let me check that. This is now interesting. I do know how Ignite works, but I don't know the exact specifics, so let's pick up our Fulcrum. Let's say edit, and let's say we say it does 50%, which would be the max roll. 50. How much damage would we get actually? Yeah, but we are dot cap, so we first of all have to untick this. And now we look again. 4%, so... No, the ignite damage... Ah, okay. Yeah, I thought it would be like this. Ignite works a little bit weird. But I won't go into this because I'm not entirely sure. I know that... Ignite is a bit weird how it works. It got changed also, but the way I explain it is correctly up until now, and you don't have to worry about anything. The only thing that... whatever. So, no, what... Okay, I'll just mention it. So I know that Ignite deals based on the hit damage, right? So if we, for example, have a weapon and we just right-click with a weapon, all the local modifiers to the hit of the weapon apply to the base damage of our Ignite. So if we deal 100 damage and our weapon says 100 added damage, so now our weapon deals 200 damage, and then 50% increased damage on our weapon as a local mod, so we then have like 300 damage with our weapon, the Ignite would deal 90% of 300 damage per second, right? Because it's the local mods on a weapon. However, if I skill this here, 80% increased physical damage. Let's put this out. 80% increased physical. If I skill this, I gain 10% increased ignite damage, but I'm not sure if I gain that because the added damage from Minion Pact is physical, right? I don't know if I get it because of that, or I get it because I also run Herald of Ash, which then grants % of my physical damage as extra fire, and also my ring grants physical damage as extra fire, and so I get more extra fire damage based on the hit, right? It might be only because of that, I'm not sure. Probably only because of that. I don't think that the increased physical damage without... I can check that. We will check that. Then we know for sure. Wait. I'm sorry for dragging this out so long, but we'll just check that. So I will turn Herald of Ash out. Okay. And I also will put my ring out. And then we will see what happens if I skill the... It still does this. Ah, okay. So even if I increase physical damage, only for the physical hit, it... Ah, okay. Interesting. No, this is correct. Because Ignite actually double dips. I knew that one. So I knew that this sounds a bit broken, but it is actually how it is. Okay, look at here. So enemies you or your totem skill have a 10% chance dealing 250% of their maximum life as fire damage, right? You know that. Now, if I were to put in my items back, just to be more precise. And I would look at on-kill monster explosion, and I would put in low life again, for example. Enemy life equivalent 7k% of the maximum life as fire damage. Right? And this 7k is then the base hit for the Ignite. However, it is only 7k because of all my increased fire damage, right? If I were to put this out, we lose 2k%, right? But we have increased fire damage, so our explosion deals more damage. And also then this is the base hit on which the Ignite is calculated. But the Ignite also profits from the increased fire damage we have from here, right? So it also gets increased, so this is kind of double dipping. It sounds broken, it kind of is broken, to be fair. And I'm pretty sure that the Ignite of the explosion often goes beyond the dot cap. I don't know why it does that, but it does that sometimes. So yeah, enough talk about that, more to Minion Pact. So we scale Minion HP. We are at currently at 581k for our minion. That is enough to get us to dot cap if we tick all the boxes. Now, yeah, for sure, the enemy might not always be low life. Sure, I can untick this, but we have power charges. Yeah, we're stationary. Sure, it's not if you're stationary for a second, it's just if you're stationary. So if I stop moving, I'm stationary, right? So we're stationary, that is true. We have power charges, it doesn't do a lot, but that is true. Endurance charge, it doesn't do a lot, that is true. Life tip, obviously we have life tip because we used our skill. We are leeching most of the time, but we don't have to check this. It doesn't do a lot. Obviously, we are ignited. Wherever this gives us so much damage, so much more. But yeah, we are ignited. Enemy is cursed, but this doesn't do anything. Enemy is ignited, obviously. Enemy might be covered in ash, but this is rarely the case because we don't hit a lot with the Minion packed version, but might be the case. Enemies on low life if it is below 50% HP, right? So, and 4 stacks of Spider's Webs are also quite usual. So this is all ticked quite correctly. And yeah, so we only get level of Minion gems and Respector gems on our gear and skill gems. Then we get a huge Respector. We have our Minion pack support. We try to get it all on Corrupted +1 level, obviously. You can see the support gems. We have our usual auras that we talked about. I have 2 rings. They're both not optimal. This one, for example, a usual ring with damage over time and increased fire damage is better than this one for this build. However, since this is still good, the fire damage is extra, the physical damage is extra 5. Since this is still good, it's not bad. If we look at this, so this ring is quite amazing, right? If I were to remove this ring, I would lose 12% total Ignite DPS. If I were to remove this ring, I would lose 6.3% total Ignite DPS. However, if I don't have this ring and I remove this one, I would lose 16.9. Okay. If I put this in and I put this out, now I would lose 11.3. So the combination of both is quite nice, first of all. And I just kept it in because, yeah, I have enough damage already and it's quite convenient because this is a prefix. So I can pick a manifold ring, which is cheaper. And also I then can get armor and maximum life and increase damage. It's still a good ring then. Not the best, but it's still a good ring for way cheaper than this helical ring, right? Which is not perfect as well, but the mods are quite nice. So I just kept them. I mean, Chaos Recoup, max life. You don't overroll that, right? So yeah, here's the build. It is sadly expensive because all of this is expensive. Like, if I just take this one, 100 diff. Sure, I corrupted it myself and just got lucky, but 100 diff. What is that? It's crazy, but it is fun and worth it, I believe. Yeah. So we covered all this. Is there anything else? This flask is super cool. The cluster jewels, I have a lot of them. The small ones are not needed. We don't need that much area of effect. However, it's super cool just for quality of life, but they don't do anything except area of effect. So you could technically, if you're not level 100 yet, or if you want to do something else with the points, like skill module slots or whatever, you could drop all of these. It's just increase area of effect and increase area of effect and increase area of effect and increase area of effect. You can drop those. You could technically put in Foulborn Unnatural Instinct. I'm not sure if you can put in the normal one and the Foulborn one. I'm not sure. Maybe you can, maybe you cannot. But you could put the Foulborn one in here. It costs a mirror still, I believe. So you can have both of those allocated without spending points. And anoint something else. That is an option. I currently have not unflinching with the anointed, or like with the Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame combo. I have unstoppable. It cannot be stunned. Usually you would have to skill this otherwise, because you don't pick the Pantheon. This one, because it doesn't do anything except you cannot be stunned. So this one is movement speeds, avoid projectiles that have chained, and reduce elemental damage taken. It's way better. This is also pretty good. Those are both good. You just have to decide for yourself. Both really, really good. But yeah, I decided to take this one. And yeah, I think that's it. I think I went over everything if you want to play these builds. Is there anything left? Let me think about it. I don't think so. No. Yeah, we're done then. 1.5 hours. But yeah, we're done. Let me think about it one more second until I forgot anything and I'm sad about it then. But doesn't seem like I am. See the minion way. Yeah, maybe You can do some impossible escape stuff. For example, it's very cool to put your impossible escape here. Then you can skill... right, you can get onslaught then on your skill tree and increase the effect of onslaught even. So you don't need it on your boots. And then you can also pick up gain a frenzy charge when you block. This is 12% more damage because 4% more damage per frenzy charge, right? So you can do that. That is pretty cool, obviously. What else? This one is maybe quite important to mention, the Rune Growth of Treachery, just for reservation efficiency, and you don't really care about the other parts. What I would not recommend is Rune Growth of the Warp. I played with it a little bit because it's quite convenient to have these buffs and maybe shrine buffs on me for an extended amount of time, but the debuffs will expire faster, so my ignite will expire faster. It's not bad or anything, but it's also not really useful because we are so fast. The map is done before the shrine buffs run out anyway, and if we don't have Headhunter or like Charlatan, stuff like that, it's kind of whatever, so don't pick that, not worth. If you're thinking about going 10% more maximum life with blood magic and also picking up the life nodes with all 6 life nodes with 10% more maximum life, and you're like at 10k life or 8k or 7k, I would recommend you do not do that. It's not worth it, since our defensive layers are, we take reduced damage, or we take less damage, 40% less damage, right? Then we have, alright, Hexed of Contradiction. If the enemy is hexed, it deals a lot of damage. It is hexed because we run punishment as an aura, by the way. But the punishment, if enemies hit us that are affected by punishment, they deal 10% less damage. This thingy, if enemies are in our area for more than 5 seconds, they deal 10% less damage. So we get so much reduced damage in that an endurance charge gives us more effective health pool than 500 health, I believe. So having 1k or 2k or 3k health more, it frankly doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I'm level 100 even with the cast 1 stunt, by the way, or especially with the cast 1 stunt. On a low budget and without going 10k HP, I was like 3k barely, and it was all fine. It didn't matter. Health is such, you need baseline some health, but after that, with this build especially, scaling health doesn't do as much, so it's not worth it, I feel like. And yeah, I think we can finally get to an end. Maybe Thriller VP is very cool. What you can also do, you can, like I already said, every road leads to Rome, right? Every road leads to Rome. So you can unallocate those if you want to, and you could put this out, and you could put maybe not this in because it's the wrong one. You could put this in and then get reduced extra from critical strikes, 10% maximum life, and get these nodes if you're looking for a timeless cluster jewel, right? I hope you know how to look for a timeless jewel. Since I didn't mention this in this video. I mentioned this in almost any video, but I didn't mention this in this video, I believe. There's a site called Timeless Jewel Calculator. I think it's better than just searching this in... Some people search this in Path of Building, but this site also exists. And then you can just click here, click Select All, deselect, select the passives you want to go for. Say you're looking for Elegant Hubris. No. Yes? No? What do we look for? Wait, what is it? Elegant Hubris, okay. Let's say we look for Arrogant Hubris and we look for, I don't know, Casprio, and we want minions have increased maximum life, 3 of those, nothing else, and we press search, 3 exist, boom, boom, boom. Oh, this looks good for some reason, trades. Then instant buyout and in person. Well, I don't have 480 divine. Good sir, maybe I don't go for the... maybe I don't go for ignore attribute requirements and just go for any other of the things. R50 divine. Yeah, I'm gonna buy that and you'll be happy, right? That is everything, I believe. Yeah. With this knowledge, you are able to flex this build on your own maybe next league, maybe this league still. I can only recommend it. Lots of fun. Was a good league, had a lot of fun. Nice, nice, nice. If anyone made it up until here, thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate you guys, and take care. Enjoy your time. Bye bye.